Hello there and welcome to the studio. My name is Matthew Palmer and we are here with the SAA today to do a bit of a Jubilee special watercolour painting. Now, I've been quite busy painting Jubilee pictures over the past couple of weeks. There's a couple of examples here actually that I've done, and in fact this one at the bottom, I'm just going to show you this one because this is one that I did about 3 or 4 weeks ago at one of my virtual watercolour workshops. And it was a scene in Buckingham Palace from St James's Park. So if you walk down the Mall, so this is the Victoria Monument. If you walk down from the Mall and go through St James's Park, so to the left as you're facing the memorial, cross over the Blue Bridge, and this is the view that you're going to get from a slight distance of Buckingham Palace. And it was a lovely workshop to do, and all these workshops are available actually to purchase on my website over at watercolour.tv. Now, if you want to purchase a past one, you can do, that's great. But what I'm going to do today is do a slightly simplified version of this picture. And I've got it sketched in here, ready to go. So we're going to change the atmosphere a little bit. We're going to make it more of an evening atmosphere. So here we've got the sketch. Now, if you're watching this back at a later stage, I'll zoom in a little bit. Feel free to take a screen grab of this. This is the actual sketch that we're going to do during today's demonstration. So do take a screen grab, have a go, sketch it in. It started off live with a vertical line, which is about 1.5 inches tall, sort of 3.5 centimeters tall, and then across. Not going to go to the full width. I'm just going to do this as a vignette. A nice evening over Buckingham Palace in London. So from St James's Park, okay, from St James's Park. So it's going to be a nice one. So do stick around for the next sort of 45 to 60 minutes, however long it takes. We are live, so who knows? But yes, that's the sketch. That is the sketch. Now, if I just show you this, this is a painting what I've recently done of Buckingham Palace, a very detailed picture of Buckingham Palace. Okay, now this one is a scene that it's absolutely rammed with detail. You can see that, can't you? It's really a nice detailed picture, and that one is available on my website at allthews.watercolour.tv. A very detailed one. Look at the lamppost, beautiful picture. So if you're a Watercolour TV member, you can enjoy that painting as well. Now that's the view. That's a lot closer than the one I was just showing you. That is actually sort of stood not directly in front of Buckingham Palace, but from a little bit of a distance back. So that's one that also can be enjoyed as well. If you want to celebrate the Jubilee, why not do it in style? Absolutely. So let's talk a little bit. In fact, there's the picture up there. Let's talk a little bit about the materials. Let's talk a little bit about the SAA, folks. If you would like to become an SAA member today, the biggest art group in the world, to keep that art inspiration alive, there's nothing greater than an SAA membership. I've popped a link in the description below this video with an exclusive offer that is unique to me and unique to this demonstration. So do make sure you check that out if you've not had a chance. If you're not a member, it's a great opportunity to join. Absolutely. You can't go wrong. I've been a member since about 1994 and I still am. Now, let's have a look at the palette. So as far as the colours for this particular painting today, you can do this entire picture from primary colours. Absolutely not a problem at all. But if you want to use any additional colours, I will mention them as I go along. I've got my own range of paints, as I'm sure a lot of you that are watching this demo actually know. So here we've got natural green, for example, natural yellow, natural grey. So I've got my own range of colours and I shall be using some of those and I'll talk about them as I go through the picture, but you can do the picture with the 3 primary colours should you wish. There they are, red, yellow and blue basically. So you don't need fancy colours necessarily. As far as brushes, I'm pretty much just going to be using 3 brushes. I'm actually using my Super Point brushes today. So these are brand new brushes, large, medium and small, Matthew Palmer Super Point brushes. And if you look at this camera up here, see if we can get it to focus, you can see why they're called Super Points, can't you? Look at them, they're belters, aren't they? Beautiful pointy brushes. Look at that, look at this size 6 brush here. Come on, camera. You know you can focus. There you go. So absolutely beautiful pointy brushes. Now, if you'd like to purchase these, there's a link in the description below as well. These are an absolute game changer, these brushes. You get a set of 3 for about £30 UK. So check those out. Okay, let's get to the picture. I'm actually going to grab a slightly older brush because I'm going to pop a little bit of masking fluid on this picture. And I've got quite a lot of old brushes hanging around the studio. I've got one here. I've got some SAA masking fluid, which we're going to use. I don't use a lot of masking fluid, and that's why it kind of gets a bit gunky around the edges. But it's a liquid latex, and literally, I want to put the brush straight into that. It looks like that one's probably gone off a little bit. Ugh, I'm not going to use that one. Let's give it a shake. Talk amongst yourselves. Anticipation is half the fun. That's better. Needed a bit of a shake up. Just like me in the morning. Let's get some of that colour. Beautiful masking fluid. And I'm literally going to mask off this edge of the statue here. So this is the Victoria Monument right outside. There's a huge fountain there, but it's hidden behind the trees in this particular scene because we are quite a way back in St James's Park here, just so you can get your bearings. So St James's Park is on the left of Buckingham Palace. To the right is Green Park, in case you're not sure where you are. So it is the front of the house. We're also going to go down the edge. Now, when you use masking fluid, you need to play it a little bit careful. You don't want to be getting too much masking fluid sticking to your brush. So what you do is you tend to give it 2 or 3 minutes worth of painting before you remove the excess. So just think a little bit about that. But I've masked off the edge and I've masked off the statue, and yeah, I'm just going to pop a few little flowers around. Actually, I'm just going to pop a few little spits and spots around the base of this tree here, a few little sort of dots and dabs. It just gives a bit of variation. So literally I'm just spotting. This is quite difficult to see the best of the time, masking fluid, so even in life you can't really see it that well. So I'll pop some little bits of spots, whatever flowers they may be, it doesn't really matter, does it? But just a few would break that up quite nicely. Clean the brush really well, always important. I mean, that is beautiful, look at that. Gorgeous stuff. Can't go wrong, can you? Excuse me. So that needs a little bit of time to actually dry, and while that's drying off, let's get some colours prepped in the palette. So make sure you rinse that brush really well, and we'll get rid of all that. Pick it off with the brush. Let's prep some colours. You don't want a huge amount of colours for this, but just a few. So first of all, I want to do the sky colours here. So using the large brush, I mean this one's about a size 20 brush, but it is that lovely super point brush what I'm using here. And literally, I want to have a very pale orange, so that's natural orange. So we'll take a little bit of that. We'll just pop these colours in the palette here. So yes, obviously you can mix orange from primary colours, but I'm using natural orange here because I want to go for a bit of an evening atmosphere, a slight warmth to the picture. That to me is going to make this picture quite desirable. So a little bit of warmth coming through the palette. Natural orange would be lovely for that. I'm also going to take some natural violet, which is here. Put that colour just there. Beautiful natural violet. Put some clouds in with that. We've got some natural grey hanging around as well. Again, you can mix your grey from primary colours, so don't worry too much if you think, oh, how do I get that particular grey? Well, you can do it from primary colours should you desire. And maybe even just a little bit of red creeping in as well. So this is going to be natural red or some kind of crimson or something similar. So we've got natural orange, natural red, violet and grey with that size 20 brush. We'll pop that brush to one side. With the size 6 brush, I mean look at that, that is a beautiful pointy brush. Absolutely gorgeous tool. Do pick these up if you've not had a chance, folks. These are lovely tools. We've got natural green, nice and thick, and natural green light. So there's 2 greens here. Natural green, which is the darker one, and green light. These are pre-mixed colours which replicate nature absolutely perfectly. All available, of course, from the SAA, as well as my own website as well. Beautiful. Okay, well, that's all the colours prepped. I'm ready to pretty much start painting here. Apart from, I'm just going to get a very pale natural yellow. Now this sort of sandy colour that you can see here is called natural yellow. It's a bit kind of yellow ochre, raw sienna-y, but very different, as in it's designed to replicate stonework. So a little bit of that just here is going to be quite useful as well. So that's the colours prepped. Let's take a look at this. It's still a little bit damp. I mean, masking fluid is best off being left to dry naturally, if we're being completely honest. While that's drying off, I just want to quickly mention, if you are interested in taking part in a virtual painting workshop, a Jubilee special one, here's some information about it. Sunday the 5th of June, paint a stunning view of Royal Windsor Castle from the beautiful Queen's Garden. This is a watercolour to celebrate the Queen's Platinum Jubilee. It's a live virtual watercolour workshop. The link is in the description below. It's basically going to paint a gorgeous view. As you can see, top left, have a look top left of your screen. See that gorgeous, beautiful garden with the water feature? That's the Queen's Garden. We're going to paint the view of Windsor Castle from there with gorgeous flowers. A beautiful vignette. This is a £10 workshop taking place on Sunday. It's live. It's just basically me and you. There's nobody else there. If you can't actually be there live, it doesn't matter. Because once you look at the bunting, I mean, come on. This is big budget stuff, this. If you want to take part in that workshop, I've popped a link in the description below, but all you do is you go to the website, allthews.watercolour.tv, click on the workshop tab, you can book a space, it's £10, and once you've bought it, it's yours to keep forever, so you don't even have to worry if you can't be there live. It really doesn't matter. If you can't be there live, honestly, trust me, I'm an artist, it does not matter, because it's yours to keep forever. So lots of people take part live, lots of people watch it after, throughout the week. Take your time, and all you need is the 3 primary colours and 3 brushes, large, medium, small. Link in the description. Please book your space. You will enjoy it. We've only got a few spaces left, so well worth checking that out. I'm pretty sure this is dry enough to start working, folks. I'm going to crack on with this right now. And excuse me, hay fever's bad today. I don't know if it's just me, but it's a little bit bad. So I've got the big brush, which is the 20. I'm just going to use the water, and very simply I'm going to wet the top section for the sky. The paper is Matthew Palmer watercolour paper, again all available online. You can get it all on the through the SAA's website. Just do a search of Matthew Palmer, you'll see all the bits and bobs. And don't forget, I popped a link in the description as well for the SAA membership, a beautiful offer that will give you some extra bonuses that you wouldn't normally get. So a good time to join the SAA, a Jubilee special. So pop in the water on now. 2 coats of water is good here for the sky, I would say. And also we're going to be doing the water at the same time. The lake, St James's Park Lake. If you've been to St James's Park, you'll know the lake. There's a footpath that runs all the way down towards Downing Street, of course, at the bottom of the mall, which is behind us. Now, this is probably enough water to do the job here. Remember, I'm going for a bit of an evening atmosphere. So I'm literally just putting water on with the big brush and then straight in to the colours. My first colour is going to be the orange, which I'll pick up, and I want to go in and get a slight angle to the orange because I want to get a bit of an evening atmosphere. Sunrise or sunset, I don't know. Does it matter? Probably not. You tell me. Bring that in. We'll also get some in the water as well, actually, so we can reflect, because we want to reflect that, don't we, as well? So that comes down at the back there. Again, it doesn't matter if a bit of this colour goes over the palace. If you've ever seen Buckingham Palace, it's not the most pristine of brightest of whites by any means, is it? So it doesn't matter if a little bit of colour goes on. Clean that brush. I tend to wipe off the excess on the tissue because it's a nice brush. It holds a lot of water. Then we've got the violet. Beautiful natural violet. Can't go wrong with this. Lovely natural violet. Sweep it in. Look at that gorgeous colour. It is quite blue natural violet, folks. Don't think it's going to be like an intense violet, because it's not meant to be an intense violet. We'll bring it in and we'll mix it with the orange and let it just become part of the sky. So already you've created this nice sky. I'm always conscious that the light is reflecting here, so I'm just going to be a little bit careful about how much light reflects into the water. Put some horizontals in the water here. So if you want to do a very detailed version of this picture, then there is a link available in the description to purchase the workshop that I did a few weeks ago. Okay, so that's created quite a nice sky. Picking up the smaller brush, the size 10, and that grey colour that we had. Do you remember the grey that we mixed? Natural grey, beautiful colour. I'm just going to pop in a little bit of cloud, silhouetted cloud, working down with the size 6 brush, or a small super point in this case, and twist the brush, and this will give me some lovely cloud formation coming down. That nice evening atmosphere that you get. We'll bring some of that next to the statue there as well. Pop on there. So literally I'm twisting the brush here. I'll get a bit closer in for you so you can see. I'm angling the board so the light's not reflecting. So let's just give it a bit of a twist. Lovely. And then we'll also do this in the water as well, next to the banking, just a little bit. Just a touch. So little horizontal lines in the water. I'll clean the brush, wipe it on some tissue, and then I'll spread those lines away. Forward, back, and so on, so on, so on. And just give it a bit of a soften, blend, tweak and adjust. There we go. Lovely jubbly. Now we can pretty much leave that to dry, I think, at that point. I'm just going to grab from the palette, I'm just going to grab some of that green. So I've got the light green and the dark green. So I'll take the light green first. And what I want to do here is I want to drop in this gap some of the distant trees of Green Park, which loiters at the side of the palace. Then we've got the green here from this tree, so I'll get some little horizontal lines here. So this is the light green. It will go darker in a minute, so don't worry. I think that's a bit strong, Palmer, but it will calm down. Just like me. Eventually I do calm down. That's quite yellow, isn't it? The dark green goes in next, which goes right in. Now all this is done at the point of the paper being wet, so working pretty speedy. If you're thinking this is working a bit quick, I can't paint along. Well, this is the demo, and the demo is very different to a paint along workshop, so they are very slowly giving you time, checking your progress. So again, have a think about one of those if you've not already. I'm sure lots of people watching this demo have taken part in one of my virtual workshops. They are lovely. Like I say, there's pretty much one every weekend really. Just go have a look online and you'll see on the website, allthews.watercolour.tv, you'll see which one is coming up. Now, the Jubilee one, of course, being the 5th of June, Sunday the 5th of June. Paint live or any time, yours to keep. Popping a few little spots. People often say, how much does it cost to book one of those workshops in America? Well, it's $11.50 roughly, and in Australia it's around 16 Australian dollars ish, give or take. I'm not too precise on that, but you can work it out. But it's about that roughly. I'll put some grey right down here because I want to get real darkness at the side of that palace there. Beautiful. So I'm actually mixing the paint on the paper here, which if you've never done before is a really good way of working. Actually, do try that for yourself. A few little ripples around here. I've got a squeaky chair. That's what that weird squeak is. Is that what it is? It is a squeaky chair. Horizontal lines to make the water have a bit of movement. Beautiful, that was good. So far, we've got the sky, background trees, and we have the start of St. James's Park Lake, which is looking good. Happy with that. What could possibly go wrong? Now, what we're going to do next is give that a few moments to dry. Not long, just a few moments to dry. Mainly this top section. I want to take the fluid off, you see. But while it is drying, I'm just going to pop in a few extra little horizontal lines of grey around that edge. Super. That was fun. Right, so that's pretty much dry. In fact, it is dry now. I want to take the masking fluid off, but only off those areas at the side of the actual palace, which is kind of here. So you could use your finger, or you could use Mask Away, which is like a little rubber. Again, just do a quick search on the SAA website. You'll see all the little things that we're using on there. We can take that off. That comes off. It sticks to it as well, which is quite nice. You can rub with your finger. Never peel it after it rips the page, but that's it. I've left it on the flower area, but we're going to paint in the actual house now. So if you've seen Buckingham Palace, which I'm sure a lot of you have, it's very much it's like a sandy, pale sandy colour. So I've got natural yellow here. I've also got that grey, but very pale. So I'm diluting the grey massively, and I want to switch between those two colours at this point. So we'll start with the yellow. It's going to be a little bit darker than it would normally be because it's against that kind of evening or morning sky. I don't know whether it's a sunset or a sunrise. I've not done my research, but I'm alternating between the colours here. You do see the dome at the top from this distance, so if you're thinking why is there a lump on the top of it, it's because it is actually there. And I'm filling it in. I'm literally filling it in using a small super point brush, and you can see why it's called super point at that stage, can't you? They really are such lovely tools to have. And working across and going up and just blocking it in. More shadows are going to come as we progress through the demo, so just bear with it, folks. It's not going to be as complex as you think, this one. If you want a more complex scene of Buckingham Palace, then like I said, I've got that picture on my website of Buckingham Palace, which is a close-up. It's a real vivid sort of close-up of the palace, with the gates and everything on. But this is like a slight distant view, and it's going to fade into the vignette or vinaigrette, as some people like to call it. So nice little bit of a soften, beautiful, can't go wrong. You can smell the fear, and we'll turn it over this way. We'll get the grey coming down here. It needs to stand out against that sky, obviously. And what you do is you get to a certain point in the picture where it's meeting the trees. So you leave a little bit of a gap just here. Use water, give it a bit of a tickle on tissue. Again, I'm working pretty quickly because it's a demo, and we'll give it a soften so it blends in, becomes part of the picture. Lovely. And then once that's had a bit of time to dry, that's when we can start to pull in some of the detail. But I'm just smoothing it out a little bit as much as I can. But that's quite nice at that point. That's quite nice. I'm just going to add a few little bits here and there of some of the yellow. Natural yellow is the colour I'm using, folks, if you're not sure. Again, just have a look on the website, you'll see them. And don't forget to check out that SAA membership offer. All the information is in the description. Click the link, it will take you to the page to show you the extra little bonuses that you get. And of course, what is the SAA? Well, it's the biggest art group in the world. You get video on demand, you get magazines come through the post, you get discounts on products. It's a lovely place to be, is the SAA. I'm sure lots of people watching this are SAA members. I'm also going to use that yellow in the water as well to do some reflection. So you do see a reflection of here. Now, I mentioned during the workshop that I did of a similar view to this about 4 or 5 weeks ago. I said that you do get pelicans in St James's Park, and I'm not sure many people believe me, but if you do a little online search for the pelicans of St James's Park, it's an actual thing, and there is actually pelicans there. Check it out. So that will help the reflection. When we get to that stage, a wee bit later, a little bit later, wee bit later, I'll use some of that grey next to put some reflections, some downward reflections with a spiky brush. I'm going to come down from here And we're going to come down and make it look as though it's reflecting slightly. So it's got that depth to it. So it's like a spiky dry brush. A little bit there. It's a bit damp to do it there, to be honest, but we'll do a little bit there. Nice. So that just helps to give some depth to your water, which is good. Good, isn't it? A bit of depth. So that's the story so far, looking nice. We've got the nice contrast coming through, and yeah, it will take shape on a steady process. This picture will. You just got to stick with it. Lovely. Okay, let's get close in to this statue here. Now that is quite a bright white statue, but I'm just going to glaze it with a little bit of that yellow. It's not as bright as that, but it is quite white. It's a lot whiter than the actual palace itself, but just take a little bit of the white away from it, just give it a bit of a touch. And on the top of it is an angel, actually. There is an angel on the top of this. Again, have a look for the Victoria Monument, Buckingham Palace. Queen Victoria. So I'm using some natural yellow light, and I'll mix it with some natural oranges. It'll give it a bit of a gold tinge, a bit of an amber colour. Again, you can just mix whatever colour you think works, and we'll block it in, and we'll add some shadows to it once it's been blocked in. But it is basically an angel with some cherubs sat at the bottom. You'll see it. Obviously, at this distance, you can't really see much in the way of detail, but we've got the grey as well, and we'll drop in the shadow. Just to give it a bit of interest. There we go, and we can revisit that should we need to. We'll come down this edge here. Rotate the board a little bit, because I want it to stand out against that sky. In the brush through the tissue and just use a bit of water to connect it all together. A bit more water. Always sort of run your brush through the tissue before you let it actually go onto your page. Then we'll drag some lines coming across here. This is just with a damp brush. We'll do more work on that later, but that's just a starting point for the statue. But you can see it kind of looks almost 3D at that point. I'm just going to give a quick dry with the dryer again, just over the actual wash of the colour on the palace. Natural grey, there it is. Worth picking up, definitely worth picking up. Beautiful colour for shadows. It's absolutely spot on for shadows, so definitely worth picking it up. But there is natural grey, and don't be afraid to be fairly strong with the colour. Size 6 brush would do the job nice here. What we're going to do here is drop some shadows in and create some separation of the main sections. So we'll block that in. Turn it around this way. We'll do one here. And then we'll do one down here as well. Clean brush really well. Give it a couple of little wipes on tissue. Revisit the first one and use water to blend it. Now don't be afraid to use this colour quite dark, because by the time you've blended it out, it's going to be a lot lighter. So, but that's going to create depth. You can see that, can't you, quite clearly in your picture. Water, tissue. Water, tissue. There we go. Now, you might notice the masking fluid has removed some of the pencil. And to me, pencil's quite important, so I'm popping it back in again. Mainly because I want the pencil to remain. So I've popped that back in again. And while I'm there, I'm just going to grab a scrap piece of paper and pop that down there. I'm going to create the reflection. Come back with the camera. Same grey. Press it flat. Horizontal lines. And then water on the tissue. And then fade that across. And look how that starts to give me that edge. Now we'll do the same here. I'll turn it upside down so I don't get any paint on that first bit. Little horizontal lines, water on the tissue. So you've removed the excess. Tissue creates that depth, and you can see how it starts to make that main area stand out. Now I'll do a similar thing down here as well. Let's turn it that way. Have I sent you dizzy yet? Probably. Bring that in. The grey, and of course this one goes the opposite way. Water on the tissue. Fade it out. Perfect. And then down this edge, we've got the dark green. So we'll get that in there. Put that in there. Get some dark green from the palette. Put that in there, young sir. Beautiful. Clean brush on the tissue and just use water. And it just makes that look as though it's an object, don't it? It starts to be a thing. It's a thing at that point. We could do a similar thing with a statue as well. Put the grey, natural grey, 50 Shades of Grey, beautiful grey, and we'll come down with that, little horizontal lines. Can you see how that just gives that, you can almost imagine it being there, picture it in your mind. We'll come back to that once it's dry, but we're going to focus the energy on the palace and the natural grey. That's a bit watery, that grey, so I've just removed some. Can you see the blue in the colour? It's quite a blue colour, quite cold, it's cold grey. That's good, it's all good. We'll take the colour, grey, and size 6 brush here. We're going to be working down here. In between the columns. Block it in at the top and then come down. There's two sort of large columns with 3 shadow areas. Exactly the same, of course, over here. So natural grey is designed to recede. So having that dark at the top will cause it to fall back. Then we'll clean the brush on the tissue. And then we'll just keep repeating that effect. Water tissue. Fade it down. So you can see that you're starting to get that effect, and we can do a similar thing in the water, but not too much in the water. So line them up and just pop a few lines coming down. and then get water and literally just water that down, fade it off, make it become part of the water, let it just sort of disappear off to nothing down there. You can build that up as much as you like with the grey, natural grey. Yeah, more of the same really. The shadows are quite key to this one, as you can probably imagine, and we'll be going darker as we progress through the picture. So a nice shadow running across here, that should be dry enough to do this. So there's a shadow across here, all the way across there. That will continue through this side. And then we are also going to do a little dome, clean brush, with a tissue, back to this, feather that shadow away. Let it become part. You can see how this is slowly starting to appear. So if you take a look at a picture like this, which is a very detailed one that I did literally only a couple of days ago, you can see how I've obviously zoomed out on the picture doing today, but you can see that real detail. So if you go to Buckingham Palace, I mean, this particular view is if you're on the big roundabout where the Victoria Memorial is, and you cross over the road towards St James's Park, the beautiful flower beds, tulip flower beds, and it's a lovely spot for looking at Buckingham Palace. So just briefly while that's drying, folks, again, let me just quickly mention the SAA, folks. We are here with them today, so do make sure you check out the SAA membership. You're still liking the bunting? I think it's great. A lot of effort went into putting these up, virtual bunting for the Jubilee. So do check out the link in the description for the SAA membership. There's an exclusive Matthew Palmer offer that gives you some extra little bonuses that you wouldn't get if you normally join any year's membership. Is the best way to go. It's such a great thing to have in your life. If you like your painting, the SAA keeps the paint flowing. Also, this workshop's coming up on Sunday the 5th of June. Paint a stunning view of Royal Windsor Castle from the beautiful Queen's Garden. The Queen's Garden is not open to the public. I've got a lovely photograph here that shows the gorgeous water feature looking over to the castle with the beautiful flowers. It's going to be a belter taking place this Sunday. You don't have to be there live. You can watch it live. You can watch it at any time for £10. It is yours to keep forever and to paint along with. Again, link in the description below if you'd like to book a space on that. All you need is 3 primary colours, red, yellow, blue, and 3 brushes. It's a great way to keep the paint flowing. Do make sure you book a space for that one. Back to this then, with that grey, which is still in the palette. I'm going to come down to the water now and pop in a few little horizontal lines that will skim over the top of the reflection here. And I can be in a little bit of control here, so we can control where we put the darkness and just keep that paint going in there. We can also revisit the statue a little bit here as well, and we can start to pop in some extra little bits of shadowed detail in the statue there. I mean, I'm not actually painting the actual angel. If you look at it, obviously it's a beautiful gold angel at the top there. At least I think it is. I apologise if I'm wrong. Some little bits of detail on there as well, which at this distance, I'm not too concerned about how we do that. I'll clean the brush on the tissue. And just help that look a little bit more detailed than what it currently is. And a similar thing would apply to the actual house as well. I'm just prepping a bit more grey here. Natural grey, medium sort of strength. And what we're going to do here is add a few little areas of detail. So I'm happy to use this super point brush, but if you're not, then you want to be thinking about using something like a rigger brush here, or even better, a Matthew Palmer branch and detail brush. Put these balustrades across the top. A bit of a shadow on that little section there. A bit of a double line on the apex. And I'll double 3 lines at the top of each column. And then we're going to go along there. There's also a lovely little section that runs through. Little sort of vertical lines. Little vertical spots. Queen's Own. Going a bit darker inside here. Stick with us, folks. I know it's like watching paint dry, but better than watching Loose Women or whatever's on this time of day. Is it Loose Women? Probably. Sounds about right. What the coat of arms, which at this distance is going to be like an Omega sign. And if you're not sure what I mean by Loose Women, if you're watching on different parts of the world, then I'm sure you'll find the British daytime TV phenomenon that is Loose Women. Or Bargain on, maybe. I was very fortunate quite a few years ago because I got to work with one of the Loose Women on a painting TV show. Jenny Eclair and Penny Smith, actually. It was all done for charity, for Marie Curie cancer. All the funds were donated, and it raised quite a few several £1,000s. It was a giant paint along that we did, and it was wonderful. So at this stage, it's down to you to decide how much detail you actually do include in your painting. For me personally, I quite like a nice bit of detail, so and I like to build up strength in colour, and you can see that starting to do its thing. We'll come back a little bit with the camera here so you can see how things are starting to shape up a little bit. We're starting to get a nice bit of contrast coming through here. It is quite a detailed picture, so do stick around. You can always put the radio on if you want to shut me up. That's what I'm basically referring to. A few more downward lines here now would be quite good. Or you could put your smart speaker on. But that nice faded edge is really quite effective here. It is. Almost ready for the windows here. But what I'm doing is I'm just kind of skimming over areas. Bring in a little bit of extra detail where needed. Nice. Okay, yeah, so windows then. We'll get a little bit closer in for the windows. Quite a lot of them. Nice dark grey. Really strong for the colour. Again, I'm happy with this brush, with it being a super pointy one. But if you've got something finer that you want to use, absolutely. It's your picture. You can do what you like. And literally, I am going to be painting in these windows like L shapes. To start with. But you can see the colours quite strong here. And also Mr. Palmer's got a bit quiet, which is a good thing. Clean brush to the tissue. And then come back to the first one and just give it a bit of a soften. Blend it in a bit. And then over the top of this we'll put some more detail when we get to that stage. Now we shall be seeing some windows inside here as well. In the dark. With the shades pulled down. I think that's a lyric from a Phil Collins song. Pretty sure it is. Clean brush. Again, you know the routine. Larger windows there. Of course, where the balcony is. Really address the nation. But much less detail in there with it being like an internal shadow. We get little lines that go underneath. And above. It's going to start to come together when you get these little bits on, isn't it? You can see it's not precise. It's not architecturally perfect. But we're not architects. We're doing a quick demo. Little V shapes on the tops of the bottom ones actually, so you can pop those on. Again, if you want something more precise, check this one out. This is quite a detailed painting what I did, so this one is quite a nice crisp detailed picture that is available on watercolours.tv. And then we're going to add some windows, a few impressions of windows inside. So we'll do some little rows of windows. So just that little slight impression, and now I'm starting to get darker with the grey. I'm putting the final crisp little bits of sharpness in place here. So again, holding my brush literally like a pencil here. I can start to go in and add some extra levels of sharpness in various places. As much or as little detail as we like, really, at this point. just lots of little lines basically. That's your secret to this kind of thing. And it's these little lines that really start to sharpen the picture up. And again, you know, you can be as obsessive as you like with detail at this point. I think that's got enough on. I will put some white on, but I think we've pretty much got a nice version of Buckingham Palace there. So that's that. Now I'm going to start to work on other little bits here. Pop little theoretical bits of darkness around here should we need to as well. But that's looking quite pleased. I'll just pop a few bearded chuffs in the sky while the paint's on the brush. There we go. And then let's come down to this part of the picture. So what I want to use here is a craft knife just for the minute. And I want to scratch off the horizontal lines. Help the water look like it's catching the sparkle. Do a bit extra where the statue is. Really pushes down that reflection, so that's a nice little trick to do. We've got some masking tape at the back here in the studio. Pop a little bit of that, just going to remove the stickiness. And pop that on that horizon. And then I want to use the size 6 brush here. We've got the greens still, but I want to mix the greens together. So natural green with natural green light mixed together. Start with. And then we're going to use that masking tape as an edge. I'm going to twist paint. And that will allow the paint to just add a bit more texture. That can be built up steady. We can go darker should we need to. Up towards that large tree there. So there's actually steps here that leads you down St James's Park. But we can't see them because we're loitering in the trees. We'll do some more twisting of the same. But I'm actually using natural green, the darker green here. And then I will even put some grey in there as well, because you need some shadow, especially on an evening. You might notice that I am adding this a little bit higher in places where I think the shadows would be. So across the bottom, up the edge. And of course we put some masking fluid there, which will come off really nice. There's a few different style of trees around here in St James's Park. I'll pop a line down here. And a little bit of a popular tree. Just coming in at the side there. There's yew trees and oak trees and squirrels and everything here, so this particular view, so that's quite a nice little group of trees, but all quite dark, you know, all quite dark really, especially on that bottom edge. That will make that thing really sit nice. Take the tape off very slowly. You leave quite a clean edge. Lovely. There we go. So that's kind of giving us a base to the house at the back of the park. Pop a few spots on the tops of that green just to give it a bit more interest, but not necessarily too detailed really. That is quite important. Lovely. And then we'll paint in this little sort of grassy area. Size 10 brush I think would work nice for that actually. And I am going to use a plastic card here as well. Got some hanging out the back of the studio somewhere. Just having a rummage around, see which one we can find. There you go, a hotel key card. I don't endorse that kind of activity, obviously, but it's there. So we'll start with the grey along the edge. I'm using the size 10 super point towards the tree. A bit of a willow tree there, so pop that in there. Clean that brush really well, and then we'll take that mix of the two greens that we had, which is still hanging around, start to blend out on the grey. Now, I'm sure you know that willow trees do sit quite flush down to the water, so we'll leave that space here for that willow tree. So making sure the grey blends with the green. Clean your brush. Now again, don't think I'm working at sort of lightning speed here. That's how I teach my workshops. I don't. This is very different. What we're doing here is very much a demonstration, which is I'm most conscious, you know, that people are watching and getting bored. So plastic card allows me to use this to create a bit of an edge, a bit of a banking. And it actually gives a nice texture. You can almost see that sort of nice banking effect that we're creating there. This is actually quite a busy picture. I mean, it's nothing compared to the one that we did a few weeks ago on the live workshop, but it's still, there's a lot in it. I'm just making sure the edge is quite sharp on those trees and bushes at the back there. Just adding a bit of grey basically. Nice. Lovely, that's good. Well, I want to put some white on this fairly soon to get that nice bit of extra detail. I just want to reflect these trees actually, because they're nice. These two. These little group of poplar trees there. I want to reflect them. In the form of little horizontal flicks. Yeah, that's quite effective there. It gives you a little bit more impression of the water coming in. A little bit more green here as well, I think would be nice. Lovely. Let's give that a few seconds to dry, then we'll paint in the willow. But I just want to, while it is drying, I've just add a little bit more detail to this area. Perfect. Just felt it wanted a little bit extra darkness in there. A few branches and things at the back there. Yeah, well that's the story so far, folks. We've got a sunrise, sunset, probably going to say sunrise as a guess. I don't really know which direction we're facing here, if I'm being honest, but I'm sure you do. Maybe someone could find out. Let me know in the comments. Willow tree, in the shade of a willow tree. Creeps are crawling over me. Now that's a lyric from a U2 song, that. Listen, thanks for sticking around, folks. Again, if you enjoyed it, remember here we've got a much more detailed version of this same picture with a lot more in it. Look at that. Now, this was taught on a live virtual watercolour workshop with me on a Saturday, a Sunday a few weeks ago. So if you want to have a go at this, there's a link in the description below. You can purchase this workshop and have a go yourself. You really can. That's the good thing about the workshops, bunting stall here, that I teach. So if you've not had a chance to do that, do check it out. Remember, the one coming up this weekend, Sunday the 5th, is a special Jubilee one. I am giving away 2 original paintings actually as well during that workshop. I'm actually giving away a painting of a toucan. His name's Guinness. So if you're booked into the workshop on Sunday the 5th, you stand a chance of winning that. And also this beautiful vignette of a cottage garden. There I am, I'm giving that away as well. So I'm giving away those 2 pictures during the workshop. You just got to be in the workshop to stand a chance of winning them. Link in the description. And don't forget to check out the SAA membership offer that we put together for this demonstration. It's all good. It's all good. Now here we have a willow tree, which is actually there in St James's Park. We're going to pop that in there. And as far as colour is concerned, obviously it's greens, but we're going to do a little bit of a different green here. We're going to use natural green, the darker one, mixed with the lighter one. But we're going to pop some natural turquoise in to give it a slight silvery feel. Just a little bit of natural turquoise, not too much. Okay, so that's my 2 greens, natural green and natural green light, which is here. And then I'll mix it with some natural turquoise. Again, you can do your own version of these colours to suit. I've also got natural green by itself, the darker one, and the grey for the shadows as well. We'll start off by painting in the internal branch. And actually I'm going to use natural green with some brown. Natural green with, natural grey and natural brown are going to be mixed together. Natural brown, bit of brown. Natural brown trousers, natural brown. Derbyshire, there for you. Let's paint in these branches. Again, think about using something like one of these that's not the right brush. Think about using a branching detail brush at this point, unless you've got super points, which actually do the job really nicely. And yes, it is natural brown. Which is trying to find a tube of it to show you. Probably not going to find one now, won't one? But it is a lovely natural brown colour designed for things like branches. Now, most of this will be covered up. I'll just obviously say that this brown. I can't help but say brown. It's just the accent brown. Sorry. Apologising for my accent. Shouldn't do that, should you? We are what we are. Bring it over. Droopy branches. Bit of water on the brush, just to add a little bit of lightness to it. I am working upside down. It's an Australian willow, just to give it a bit of a soften, so it doesn't look so stiff. That's better. And then we'll work that into the landscape. And then over the top of this, we're going to add obviously the green. We'll start with that green that we mixed. Dry brush. If you spike your brush a little bit, this is the one with the turquoise, remember? You can start to do the weeping willow, like little L shapes. You sort of come across and then over. But if you pick the paint up and spike your brush, if it's a nice quality brush, it will stay in shape. Or if you've got one of my fantastic brushes, it'll do that even better actually. Practice the willow trees, because I know a lot of people do have problems with them. But just, they're not as complicated as you think, really. Like little L shapes. And you just keep building them up and up and up. with it being a vignette, it's nice to have it on the edge of the picture, and of course we'll bring some of that into the water, some of that colour as well, so we'll reflect some of these downward lines so it looks like it's reflecting as well at the same time. If you look close, you can see a pelican there, the St James's Park pelican. Pelicans, there's a few of them. I think they were donated by somebody at one time, I don't know. Probably just talking nonsense here, folks, to be honest, but I'm pretty sure that's the story. I'm very lucky to spend a lot of time in London, and just down here, so if you walked up to the Victoria Memorial and walked down the Mall towards Downing Street, you'd actually see the Mall Galleries, and I've been very lucky to work there for a few years with Search Press, which is my book publishers, and work at some of the shows there, which has been a pleasure. So I'm now onto the dark green. This is probably the longest demo we've done for a long time, so, but there's a lot in it. There's a lot to enjoy about this picture. Trying to avoid having too much white on show here, so just keep adding more and more of this dry brush effect. I am onto the darker green now, like I mentioned. And keep adding more and more downward lines. But all the time, I'm conscious that I'm sort of dragging the brush with a slight spike on it. Help it look as though it's reflecting and drooping over and various things. And then eventually I will start to bring some grey. We did mention grey, didn't we? The grey would be on the right side of the tree. Give a bit of shadow to it. There you go. See the sort of shadow coming through. Perfect. Okay, I'll leave that to dry for a little bit. That's good. That's good. Little spots of colour around here. More reflections in the water. And I'm just using a diluted version of that green that I mixed. The one with the turquoise. Just to get rid of any obvious white areas. Glaze it in quite quickly. There you go. That just kind of fills that in a little bit, makes it a little bit more robust, a little bit more sort of solid, if you like. Nice. Okay. I want to give this a little bit of ripple in the water. Some of that violet. This is the violet from the sky. Just to lift that foreground up a little bit. Just to help the water look as though it's standing up. That's nice. That helps quite a lot. And to finish off, I want to take some white paint. This is my own special super opaque white, improved version. Pop that on. Get some of that. And mix it in your brush. Just a little bit of a tickle on the tissue there. Make sure the paint's quite fresh. Just want to get a little bit of light into the building here. Not a huge amount, just little bits catching down some of these edges here. I don't know whether you'll see this, but basically it's just going to put as though the sort of sun's catching it as it's going down. And even in the windows here, get really close in for you. I'm actually putting the white frames because they are white frames. Dave Style UK on Buckingham Palace. Bring that in. Little hints of white down the edge of the columns and various things. If you happen to make any mistakes on the statue, personally I'd say it's worth putting a bit of white on there just to give it more of a metallic shine. Quite effective. You see it looks like it's actually shining up against the light areas. You know, a few flowers. I mean, we've got masking fluid around anyway, but there is flowers around here, so you can put quite a few of those on should you need to. Just a few little areas of light coming through. Just to make it stand up a little bit. And of course we do have masking fluid which I'll be taking off fairly soon. A little bit of light on the edge of the tree here. That's the statue. So this is actually my new white paint, which is a bit of a super opaque white, so it's really easy to use and it stays put. It doesn't disappear. You know, lots of white just like disappear. This will stay where you put it, basically. So well worth checking this one out if you're not already. Bits of white in the water. Where the statue is. Some white there so it kind of reflects it a little bit. Just a hint, it just helps to catch it a little bit. Let's just use a bit of water to tickle the edge of the white on that willow tree. And in actual fact, if I take some green paint and mix it with white, you get that nice kind of silvery colour, even a bit of turquoise as well, to be fair. So you get that nice kind of silvery, light green. And I would say it's worth just adding a little hint, just a few, just to break up that solid mass of. See those little white little highlights being lovely down that edge. It's almost like a waterfall. So it just puts a little bit of light in your willow tree. But the secret to willow trees is lots of dry. Yeah, that's beautiful. That really stands up nice, don't it? Like that. A bit of white around there. Big brush, and then I think, yeah, just to kind of wrap things up here, just going to use a knife again, just to pop in a few extra little bits of light in the water. A few scratches and scrapes around the water there, just to give it a bit of extra reflection, ripple. And then if I give that the old rub off with the masking fluid, there's a few white flowers around. Now if you do this and you think, crikey, that's bright, then how do you tone down the green against the white? You just use a damp brush on your tissue and you just kind of soften in the surrounding area, and for me it just calms it down. It just gives it that nice little bit of extra oomph, that bit of extra oomph that you'd expect to see on something like this. But yeah, nice little watercolour vignette, a very detailed one, folks, so thanks for sticking around. That was a lengthy one, but it was a pleasure to do. Let's try the frame on the picture. Bring that down. I've got a mount here to try. I think it'll really suit her. Beautiful. So that, let me take the tape off actually. I think we need to appreciate this. It's been a lot of time and effort has gone into setting up this demo for you folks after a busy old week or so. So I hope you've enjoyed that one. Yeah, but that's made a nice, pleasing Jubilee themed watercolour. And of course a picture like this warrants a signature. Should we send it to the Queen? Prince Charles actually might like it. He likes it, don't he? 2022, the year of the Queen. Platinum Jubilee.